Let's see. Time to lubricate this conversation. What's up, Christy? How's that gig going out there in Las Vegas? See, Jerrigan, you know what? This is almost like therapy at this point right here. You know what I mean? Well, damn, get back to hanging out in Mexico. This is kind of like therapy right now, kind of helping me work through everything. You know, it just hit me today that there ain't no fucking truck to go back to. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I've been procrastinating on some of this stuff. There's a list of shit I got to get together, and that is going to be a motherfucker. So, I'm going to get started on that tomorrow. I figured after driving almost 1,400 miles straight through yesterday, I could use a break. All right, Christy, another driver came and picked it up from their little drop yard, you know, whatever, their little tow yard or something like that. Somebody did come and get it. That load was there on time. Funny thing about it, and this is, you know, normally if I have hours, I'm going to run a load, right? So I had pretty much enough time on my clock to get, I was delivering to that Walmart in Mebane, North Carolina. I had the time to get there, and I know there's a Petro there that always has spots and everything like that, but I was really planning on stopping within the next 60 miles. So I don't know if this was punishment for me slacking or thinking about slacking or what, but yeah, they did come and get that load. I mean, it was a pretty good repower. I mean, as far as repowers go, can't get much easier than that. The paperwork might have been a little bit of a problem. I did end up uploading all the bills that I was able to pull out of the truck, but there was still water and shit on them, so I had to let them dry out a little bit, and then I uploaded them. So at any rate, at minimum, they had to go print it out at a truck stop or something. So I guess that's the only downfall on that. So yeah, tomorrow I got to get together. They never did send me that fucking report, which they said they were going to send me, the fire report. So I need to get a copy of the fire report. An itemized written repair estimate of the damaged area. I don't think that's on me. I think they're sending out somebody for that. Photographs of the vehicle and the damage. I'm assuming the other guy's going to send that, but I mean, I got a few pictures, copy of the title, the original purchase invoice. Okay, all that's kind of easy. Major maintenance records, not normal maintenance. That's going to be the hard part, is going through each one of those statements and either somehow uploading those or whatever I got to do as far as that goes. That's going to be a pain in the ass. And then a vehicle spec sheet. If you do not have the original one, just a bunch of random stuff I got to come up with. A copy of my title, copy of my driver's license. Meanwhile, they haven't sent anybody out there yet to take a look at the truck, as far as I know. I don't think so. Anyway, so I got on the Success Leasing website just to see kind of what they had available. I didn't see no damn Peterbilt's. I didn't see one. And I'm not trying to get I'm trying to get a short-term lease. Boy, it is gonna be whew. I am not wanting to be rocking no Freightliner, but that might be the direction I might end up having to go. All right. Ed, what's up, man? Okay, he's asking if I'm gonna be doing videos from my car soon, just like this other idiot, Scotty Bear. No, you won't be seeing that. I mean, you might, but I won't be living in that motherfucker. Chrissy, I'm sure a PB will turn up. Yeah, but it needs to meet certain requirements. Like right now on their website, and obviously that website changes every day or almost even every hour, but there's a Freightliner on there that has a lease end date of November of this year. That would be perfect. You know what I mean? Get in and out. Get a little bit of a bonus, take off 59 days or whatever, go back, try to find another one. You know, I'm thinking maybe a year at the most lease, you know, but it's out of my control. It's one of the things that's one of the hardest things about this situation I'm in right now is I have no fucking control over any of this shit that's going on. So that's the main problem. I was letting my daughter use my car. I don't know if she's out there buying a car today or not, but I'll probably be throwing in a little bit of money on that car as well. Well, should I say I'll be loaning some of that money as well. All you Gen Xers out there, I wish I had somebody. I wish I had a parent that would step up like this. It wouldn't have even crossed my mind, to be honest with you, that if my car went down, that the first call that would be made would be to my parents. Just not anything I think a true Gen Xer would do, but my daughter's not Gen X. I don't know what she's considered, 30-something years old, whatever that is. But at least I've trained her not to be trying to finance every goddamn thing, so I at least got to give her credit on that. So I really didn't know what I still had left in the truck. I mean, I know obvious stuff that I had that I didn't get out of my truck before it caught on fire and everything, but I bought almost everything on Amazon, so I'm going through Amazon, everything that I ever bought. And man, there's so much shit that I fucking didn't think about that I either had on the truck, or should have on the truck that I bought off of Amazon. And that is a pretty big fucking list, bigger than I thought it would be. And if you are a truck driver, you do not want to get a load coming into Colorado that's not leaving right away, depending on which way you're going. If you're coming in and out on 70, that can be pretty bad at times too. Maybe not this time of the year. It may not get frozen like that, but if you're coming across any mountains, I-25 up from the south, you're coming over I-70 if you're dumb enough to do that. or coming through in Wyoming, this will not be the next few days to do it. All right. Let's see, Jerrigan, 2 hours on 70, squeezing a 34 and delivering a day early, knocked out 1350 miles in 33 hours. Only 4 hours away from 90. I got to run hard, made zero profit last 5 days. 1,350 miles. That's about what I drove coming out here from West Virginia. I can truly say that, listen, I've always said, I'm good for 36 hours, and I am, but that's usually I may not be sleeping during that 34, 36 hours if I'm staying up, but that's not driving the entire time. That drive from West Virginia to Denver, that last 200 miles, boy, that was a hard 200 miles right there. I wasn't sleepy, I'm a fall asleep sleepy, but I was just almost, I can't even say physically tired. It was just a weird feeling. And first of all, them cars, I was driving a Jeep Compass or something. They're not as comfortable as a truck either. So I had that to deal with. All right. Christy's in Puerto Vallarta. That's where my wife's parents go. My father-in-law, he just passed away, a while back. But they used to always go down to Puerto Vallarta. Trucker Tammy Trash, you know what? The funny thing was, I was just about to talk about you in a video because I was going through shit in my truck. This is before it caught on fire. Because Ed, who's in here, was talking about his windshield fogging up and stuff like that when it rains. And I was like, you know what? Trucker Tammy Trash turned me on to those little dehumidifier things that you buy at the hardware store that you put in a basement or a closet or whatever. Those things are must-haves on trucks that don't seal up all that well, or even ones that do. There's always going to be some moisture getting into a truck. So I had a couple of those in my truck. I just hadn't pulled off the plastic yet since it really hadn't got into that time of the year. So anyway, CJ Jerrigan, sales had me drop empty trailer 180 miles away and bobtail 600 miles to get empty and deadhead 130 miles to get this load. They had me do a pretty strong deadhead the other week. I was in Oregon. No, I was in Washington. No, I was in Oregon. And they had me deadhead all the way to Twin Falls, Idaho to Chobani. I was happy to get that deadhead because I was happy to get the fuck out of there because some snow was coming in north along 90. So I was happy I didn't have to take that route. And then if I was supposed to go south, would probably be hitting the Sierra Mountains. They were going to be getting dumped on. So this made it an easy way for me to kind of get out and avoid the snow. I didn't avoid the wind. I was empty. But I made it there with no problems. When I left, there was a camper that was turned over. So it was definitely windy out there. Slime Pack, what's up? Slime Pack's in the house. Now she's building up another source of income. Who knows what all she has. I know she got the trucking. I know she got the YouTube. I'm sure she got some investments too. And boom, now you're going to put a house on that too. There you go. As dumb as I am, that was one of the smartest things I did back in the day. And I mean, all of them were happenstance, to be honest with you, except for the first one. Sometimes stupid people like me, we get lucky because the universe makes us lucky. So when I ended up buying this condo that I've owned since I think 2004, The only reason I bought that condo was because I couldn't sell my townhouse at the time. Had I been able to sell my townhouse, I probably would have. Well, first of all, I probably would have bought something that may have been. I don't think I was ever one to really, really stretch on anything, but it probably would have been more money and all that kind of stuff. And then that would have just been a sole property because I couldn't sell my other property. I ended up having to reduce what I could buy. Bought that bought that condo, rented out the townhouse that I was living in, and I just sold that townhouse not that long ago, 2016 or something like that. That was the biggest blessing I could give my sister. I was able to move her into my condo after she was getting raped by this apartment complex, walking up to the third floor when she was like basically dying of cancer at the time. So I was able to move her in there, and it was a hidden blessing for me. I was doing it to help my sister. She lived there. I don't know if it was a year and a half or 2 years, however long it was, but during the time period between, because I was going to sell it before she moved in, the house went up, or that townhouse went up probably $70,000 within that 2 year period that she lived there. So she helped me without even knowing she was helping me. Afro, what's up? How's things going, man? I'm just at home. I'm still kind of a little bit in shock. It's not like a bad shock. It's just that I'm a little off balance right now because I just don't know what's going on. This is like, that's one thing I've always been able to say in life is I've at least had a plan. It may have been a bad plan, may have been a good plan, but I've had a plan. Right now, I'm just out here with my dick hanging in the wind and really not knowing what the next move is. I could just really just put one foot in front of the other and just kind of go because there's no direction yet. I don't know what's going on with insurance because nobody's gone and looked at it or anything like that yet. So I don't know if what the situation with that's going to be. I don't know if it's totaled, how much money that total is going to be. If they're going to try to rebuild it, I can't see that, but that's always, something that can happen. And then what do I do if I'm just in a position where I'm just kind of I just have lack of control. It's horrible. All right. Man, I always run on recaps. I mean, at Prime, unless you want a 34, they're going to find a load that fits you. I mean, the load that I got from Oregon that basically went all the way to Illinois, I think I only had like 9 hours on my clock when I picked that up. I had 9 hours on my clock. Or no, I think I had just enough hours maybe I forget. Anyway, I had to run everything on kind of recaps and everything like that, but they will find a load for you at Prime. So I do take time off though, but sometimes I'm like, I don't load me out till tomorrow morning at 8:00. And I'm doing that just so I don't get a 34. In certain areas, I want a 34. If I'm up in New York State, Connecticut, Maine, some shit like that, I want a big clock to get me out of that area. If I'm in California, Oregon, Washington, a lot of times, same thing. If I'm in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, any of that shit up there, Wisconsin, I'll take give me a short clock. I want those loads going from, Wisconsin to Indiana to Minnesota, to to Ohio. I want them short loads like that. You have no details to plan. Absolutely. All I can do is chill. Yeah, but still in the back of my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is next? You know what I mean? That's hard for me to just sit here and not know what not knowing what my next move is gonna be. Keep your head up, you'll get rolling soon. Well, I don't want to get rolling too soon, but I just want to know what the situation is. Like, I really don't want to come out anytime soon. Like, I really don't want to come out in the next 30, 40 days. All I want to know is, okay, this is what I'm dealing with when I do come out. Here's what I got to deal with when I'm here. I mean, I've been spending more money and I fucking, you don't think about it, but fuck, the hotel, I got the hotel. I got 161. And 140. 143. That's not too bad, but the car was $612 or whatever. The fuel was probably $40 roughly every time I filled up. So I think I did that 4 or 5 times. So, it's just that. And then, I got to buy all this shit again. Leaf blowers, like the little shit that you put your bills in. The little clipboard that you could put all that shit in. I got to get another little toolkit. I could have saved some of that stuff, but at some point, that truck was so fucking dirty when you're in there that you just didn't want to do anything but get out of that thing. So I took the stuff I knew was like some serious money or some stuff that could help people down the road. I don't necessarily need 10 pair of auto socks. You know what I mean? All right. So that battery booster, that was definitely not something else I wanted to rebuy. So I saved that. But then I started. Hold on a second. Just little shit I probably won't buy again. I bought a space heater as like a little backup thing because I almost froze to death one time when I had a situation with, it wasn't my fuel gelling, but it was like anyway, it doesn't matter. It wasn't my fuel that gelled, but it was like the line that runs between the 2 tanks that gelled, and my truck stopped. And I was like, man, I could fucking use a little bit of heat right now. So I bought a little ceramic heater, just like a little one. I didn't save that. There's like maybe 2 toolkits I had in there. One that was like just little shit. One was maybe a little bit more stuff. Like I said, the leaf blower. I had a bunch of those little carabine clips or whatever. Fuck. Who knows? Anyway. All right. I was far from home, you know what? But luckily, see, I could think of a couple different things in the. First of all, and I'm saying this, I'm not happy it was me, but better me than somebody that has a family that had come off of a couple bad weeks or something like that and couldn't afford to deal with this stuff. I mean, better me than somebody like that. Better me be in Charleston, West Virginia when it happened than further down the road in like a real, one of them real off-brand, cities out there. So at least, at least it was kind of a major city and stuff like that, where I could, Enterprise rental car was right down the road. They came and picked me up. I was able to do all that stuff. I had like a truck stop, actually a truck stop. I've done videos from that truck stop I was at before in Charleston, West Virginia. As a matter of fact, I did a video about that town. It was like a foggy morning, and I'm looking out the front of the truck, and there's like these people in these like pickup trucks, and they just stopped at this little Go-Mart, and they were just drinking beers sitting there at the Go-Mart, throwing beers in the bed of the truck. And I was just like, this is fucking crazy. But anyway, it's one of my favorite truck stops when I'm going on that route. Let's see. Another lucky thing was I had my payroll person. I was about to send over a bunch of money. I was about to have a bunch of money sent over, and I don't think any of this money is going to hit Prime or come out of my emergency fund or anything like that, because it's not really a Prime situation. It's more of an insurance situation. So I deal with that on my own. But still, I was going to put a bunch of money into these investment accounts. And I caught that just in time and just said, you know what? Let me, instead of, sending over this amount, send over this amount. So I lowered that just a little bit, just to keep me a little bit more liquid. Hold on a second. All right. I'm not a huge fan of West Virginia, not because it's not. Well, let me put it this way. I like some of West Virginia. It has nothing to do with the people or anything like that. It's just a little too rural for me. It's just a little too like Charleston, not so much. That's like a major city, but you get out there, like for example, when the guy's telling me where my truck's at, and I say, okay, can you give me the address? And he's like giving me all this, like, you drive down to here until you see this, and you're going to go through these switchbacks, and you're going to go through this holler, and you're going to see this like pumping station next to this river, and that's where you're going to make a right. And you're going to like, and then people just like, then where this guy's office was, which was basically his house is on a road where it just like turns into, like, I passed up the house. I thought this could not be the place. So I keep going. That shit just went from pavement to gravel to like a fucking creek. And I was like, okay, I think I've gone too far. I don't know. I just need a little bit more, like, some of you guys, I'm not sure if any of you guys know this or not, but back in the days, back when the civil rights movement was going on, a lot of people, and there used to be a lot of meetings with the civil rights people. So we're talking about, any of those black organized groups back in the day that would meet with these people in West Virginia. And they fought together under common cause because white people in West Virginia were basically getting as fucked as most black people were getting. So they kind of had like this little coalition, I guess you could say, between them. Oh, load locks, yeah. Now I only had two. I had four, or I had six load locks in my truck. One of my drivers, fucking for some reason, felt like she had to fucking lock up the fucking load locks, and for some reason, I never had the fucking key to those. So those four were basically, actually, you know what? I had no load locks. Those four were, well, if I had carried on the load, I would have had the same two. So those four I couldn't use anyway, unless I got a you know a bolt cutter, but I had lost two load locks to a dropping hook. I was in too much of a hurry to go scavenge for some more load locks, and I know they were there, so I was down to two load locks. The load I was just on required two load locks, so those two load locks were in the trailer, which I would have got back once I delivered it. But since what happened, I was basically down to zero load locks. So I'm not too much worried about the load locks. I'll just go get a bunch of free ones from Springfield or whatever when I'm out there. So not too worried about that. I probably will want to get another. Well, I did lose my fucking what's that lock that you put on your air cuff lock? So I don't know about that, but the alloy lock I have, I really think I only have one key now. I think I had like 3 or 4, but those got left in the truck in some cabinet or something. So I don't feel comfortable just rocking with one of those. So I might just go ahead and get another alloy lock. Mine's getting a little old anyway, so. All right. Have you heard a possible ETA on the insurance making a decision, or at least they might take a look at the truck? Nope. I got a little, let me see. I got, actually, you know, I'm glad you brought that to my mind. Let me take a look. Damn, I forgot where I had them send that to. But anyway, they haven't looked at it yet, as far as I know. They gave me this app, or not an app, but they gave me a link where I can see what's going on. Oh, here we go. Wonder if that's an honest looking guy right there. That's who it's gonna be. Let's see. Yep, just says new claim submitted, appraiser assigned, and that's it. Haven't got anything past that. Which doesn't matter because I can't move forward until, I mean, at least I can know what I'm working for, you know, as far as the amount of crap I got to go through, getting all this shit together to send them. All right, see, Jerrigan, if you stay home so long you need to do TNT, you can come ride with me. I'll show you my formula. I still drive 11 hours straight with only 10-hour breaks. I'm a trainer, but don't train. Yeah, we'll see about that one. Boy, I'm gonna tell you what, though, that's another thing that made me think about, some of these students that are not students, but it could be trainer, student, whatever. Um, you know, they want to preach this having that net over you when the truck's moving and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, I know somebody that got into an accident when their trainer was driving, and the net wasn't being used, so you could see, the trainee falling out of the bunk in the video that the camera took. But man, it just seems like I don't know how long it would have taken for that truck to really, really catch on fire. But man, I just know for now on. I mean, I'm glad I had on some regular shoes and I wasn't out there rocking no bullshit. But I had on some regular shoes and all my stuff was pretty much like everything I have is just like in double bags. Boom, boom, boom. So all I do is throw duffel bags out. And then I had the one briefcase with my important shit in it, made sure that was out. And then everything past that, it really wasn't that big of a deal. But that, I'm just thinking about shit that I never would have really thought about before. Makes me feel like I'm Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder. Actually, two times when Tom Cruise was like having a problem getting back into it was Days of Thunder, and then Top Gun when he was afraid to engage after he, got into all that shit. I took your advice and trained one guy. Well, that's good, man. I always got to pay it forward once, in my belief. He averaged 2,800 a week checks, so I know my formula works. I don't know if you're saying he did, boy. I'm telling you, as a trainer, am I gonna jump on a sofa? No, I'm not gonna do all that shit. Personally, I don't like Tom Cruise. I mean, I like some of his movies. I think he's kind of a little bit too fucking arrogant for me. But I think if you were to say what's my favorite Tom Cruise movie, they got it on YouTube. You got to look for it. Some of you young bucks may not know this. All the Right Moves, 1984, some shit like that. That movie was filmed in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. He played for the Ampipe Bulldogs. Anybody, if you've seen that movie, put that in the comments below saying you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, go check that out. That's like one of the first. This is like one of his first movies. I think this came out. I think the only movie he did before All the Right Moves was that movie where they were like cadets or something like that. But I never saw Risky Business. There's a lot of good actors that came out of that All the Right Moves. His checks match my checks, which is higher than the average. Man, okay, I can't use my I hadn't trained in a long time. So I trained the guy that trained me last summer. Then there was like a 3-year gap, I think, in there, maybe 2-year gap. And man, I'm telling you that the last guy trained, obviously, I think they really put us on a lot of loads that, I mean, we were running damn near 60% high val loads. We were killing it. Then the student I had before him, we were just running nonstop. We were running so hard that I actually asked him, listen, just stay on my truck one more week. I'll back this down to a solo load. I just want to make sure that you got everything. And he was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then he was like, man, I think I could do it. And I was like, all right. That was a guy that I just felt like I didn't do as much backing practices I would have liked to. But then when there's a YouTube channel I'd have all my students watch. It was called My Trucking Skills or something like that. And that guy breaks down all these different backs and stuff like that. And of all the people that I trained, he was like really like religiously breaking down those videos. So he at least had kind of the idea of it. So let's fast forward a little bit sooner. I dropped him off to upgrade. After that, I see him. I don't know it's him, but I see him at this. I think it was I don't know if it's Nestle, whatever it is. It's in like Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I see somebody backing in a truck. And I was like, oh, all right, that was a good job or whatever. Then he pulls out, drops his trailer, pulls out, and he starts talking to me. And I don't know who it is at first. And I was like, oh, shit, that motherfucker like did his thing. So I felt a little bit better about that. I made $36,000 within 33 months after expenses to my bank. That's good shit right there. 25, James. I was afraid you were about to say Tropic Thunder was your favorite Tom Cruise movie. Tropic Thunder might have been my favorite Robert Downey Jr. movie outside of Weird Science. Robert Downey Jr., he deserved the NAACP award for that fucking film. Golden Boy Expert, the problem with training is when you reach 30,000 and Prime keeps them hostage on the truck. That doesn't slide with me. That I fucking absolutely hated. And listen, my last guy, we just bum rushed the terminal. We just showed up and was like, what's up? So I knew he had his miles, I knew if we got back to Springfield, he was going to have his miles. I had an issue that needed to get taken care of on my truck. So I was like, get us to Springfield. So we went to Springfield, and I put my truck in the shop. Monday morning, he walked into the fleet manager like, here I am. What's going on? And he just went ahead and upgraded. But that is the most dangerous time in the world. And I don't think that's another reason they need to get their ass right on out in the truck. All this talking and yapping about, money and how you could do this and how you could do that. Get your ass on the truck. Those right there, they wouldn't understand that those are the most dangerous miles that you can have because they're just looking at stats. When a trainee hits 30,000 miles, that is when there's a break in, like they just relax. You know what I mean? And I had to tell my people when they hit 30,000, I was like, there's nothing more than Prime would want to do than put you on a truck or keep you on the truck for another 10,000 miles for doing some stupid shit. Maintain your focus, man. We'll get back. All right. I had two students that the same thing happened, and it just creates too much tension in a small space of the truck. There was really never tension with me and my students over it because they knew that I wanted to get them off the truck probably faster than they wanted to get off the truck. So they weren't getting upset at me. And really, I pushed it on all of them, to be honest with you. I was like, this has nothing to do with the student. This has to do with me now. I'd come out here, I train these students. We don't take no home time because we're trying to get through this shit. So boom, I need to get home. So I'm dropping them off. You guys could do whatever you want. You know, as soon as you say that, they're going to let him upgrade. But still, I mean, I went straight home. That was my plan. It wasn't to be out here on some endless endeavor that I don't know when's going to end. Oh, yeah. Now you got me. I'm not even going to go down that path. That irritates. That irritates the shit out of me. Hold on just a second. I gotta. All right. Let's see. JDQ, what's up, man? Just out here trying to deal with the fallout of this truck burning down. Just I'm in a moment of transition right now, just not really knowing what I'm doing. So tomorrow I'm gonna get working on this list of shit I got to get the insurance company. And that's it. I'm glad you're okay after all that shit. You know what? I don't think my life was ever really in danger. I mean, you never know. Like, you just never know, because it was probably one of the best places it could have happened if it was going to happen. It had happened 30 miles down the road or 30 miles before, it might have been a totally different situation. All right. It just makes trainers' life hell at that point. I agree with most of my students have been passed by another trainer, and it sucks when they have to stay on the truck. Yep. JDQ, dealt with a small fire myself. Scary shit for sure. It was not only scary, but it was just the funny thing about it is, I'm not no big person on YouTube or anything like that, but it's funny that before I even got to my hotel room, I had motherfuckers calling me asking if I was okay, because somebody had passed by, saw my truck, and called them and told them, either Lyle or No Hippie's truck is on fire. And so yeah, that got back before I even got to the hotel room. Do I know what the cause was yet? I'm sure it's something electrical. Now, everybody has some theories and stuff like that. I'm not saying that this is the case or anything. I've just heard of numerous people that have had electrical issues or whatever after that camera got installed in the truck. I don't know if that's the case or not. It could be an alternator issue. It could be anything electrical is what I think it is. I have no idea. One fire extinguisher was definitely not. I don't even think 3 would have been good for what I had going on. Glad you're safe. You're one of the few OGs at Prime left. There's still some at Prime. Well, shoot, a lot of the people that are new G's are old G's now. Slime Pack, she's kind of an old G. Obviously, shit, Junior's still there. He just hasn't had the motivation to put out anything. He's a OG. Mine was a damn starter. You know what? I did get a new starter put on my truck not that long ago. The deal that pops out and grabs the flywheel and went back, but kept spinning, overheated, and caught fire. Can say for sure 3 is most likely not enough. I did get a new starter not that long ago. Been following you about 5 years or so. Even got out of trucking completely. Yeah, I saw you moved out of trucking. I see some of your posts and shit out there. I'm not an OG, but at least I'm not a rookie anymore. See, Prime got some. I mean, forget the people on YouTube and all that stuff. Prime has some people that have been there a long ass time. Go walking through a Prime terminal and you see guys that are out there wearing more patches and shit than an army fucking, Green Beret and shit. They walk around and got all these little patches down their sleeves and all this shit. You don't know whether you should shake their hand, salute them, what to do with them. So they definitely got a lot of people there. They've been putting in a lot of work there, but I'm pretty much new compared to a lot of those people. I think my starter, man, I don't remember when I got that starter done. Fuck, I don't remember how long ago it was. I think it was maybe we're coming up on a year and a half. But it is good seeing some of the new crowd coming over to Prime or Prime affiliates and stuff like that. I really don't watch too much of Wild Beer, but from what I've heard, it seems like he's really liking it over there. Definitely got a root for Trucker Togs. I got some money on him, so hopefully he can come through and win me some money. And we got the truckers coach over there, so hopefully everything works well for all those people. But just don't, the only thing I don't want is for them to, because sometimes I think that my intelligence is insulted a little bit when some of the things that are said about the difference between some of these affiliates and Prime. I mean, I'm no drug dealer, right? But if you watch any movie that deals with drug dealers, what is the drug dealer's main goal? As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to answer that question. Put it in the comments if you know. What is the drug dealer's main goal when he's out there with his little crew and shit selling drugs? Let me see if anybody could put it in the comments, and then we'll go from there. If not, I'll just go ahead and answer that question. I gotta get my second diamond put in my ring. I have never taken my ring back for any of that stuff. I don't know what that is. To make a profit, okay, that's a good one, but how do you make the most profit? All drug movies talk about this shit. All right, I'm gonna just say it. The main goal is to get to the connect. You know what I'm saying? So if this is a drug dealing organization, Prime is the connect, right? That's where you're trying to get. You're trying to get to the connect. You're not trying to get to the person that's after the connect, because the connect is the fastest way to the money. So all these drug movies, whether it's Scarface, what's the one with Denzel, all that stuff, they try to, or there's a ton of drug movies. It's always to cut out the middleman and get directly to the source. the Connect. So the Connect is Prime. It's not these little off-brand. And not that there's anything wrong with them. And the pay could be exactly the same, all that kind of stuff. But that's the goal in most of these movies is get to the Connect. So, and like I said, there's not fuck. I know that. Yeah, gotta get the plug. I know that. Trans Am is paying pretty well. I mean, but listen, the thing isn't to be talking about how. Anyway, I talked. One of my boys, he was in here earlier. He had exact loads, load for load, picking up at the same place, delivering the same place with the Trans Am driver, and they got talking, and the conversation came up. How much money did you make on this load? And they were within $50. So if you did the math on it, $50 was the difference between 70% and 72%, or however it was broke down. It was kind of about that number. So I know that, Trans Am is doing well as far as that goes. I don't know about BLC. I've never talked to anybody. I did talk to somebody at Western Flyer Express, and he was on some mileage contract. And he said they were trying to talk him into going percentage of revenue. And I was like, boy, you better fucking switch that shit over. So I don't know how they pay, but I know that they're wanting some of their people to switch over. Prime is the middleman, customer is the Connect as real owner operators. You know what? I could see the logic in that. There's just a lot of bullshit that I don't have to deal with as an owner operator. I ain't got to worry about no factoring. I mean, listen, there are a ton of different ways to make money out here. To me, before the money is peace of mind. And that's one thing that Prime gives me. But as a matter of fact, I was supposed to do a video on this. There's an owner operator that sent me his numbers and the shit that he had to deal with just in the last couple months, and what the shop bill was and all this kind of stuff, and the fuel discounts he wasn't getting and all this shit. Being an owner operator would not work for me mentally. It could be 10 times better, but it wouldn't work with me mentally, because I'm just like, I can't have. And are you talking about a real owner operator, or somebody that's just running under somebody else's shit? Because I could maybe run under somebody else's shit, but I definitely couldn't have my own authority. That I know. My mind is not set up for that. Trans Am drivers saying they're only making $1,300 a week, from what I've been told. Well, Trucker Todd said he's making more than that, so I don't know. I mean, there's a ton of Prime drivers that are saying they're only making $1,300 a week. I'm not fixing something that isn't broken. I average $11K a month. Yep. And I'm kind of the same way. But more than that, again, my mind is not able to process all the information I would need to have my own authority. That is a weakness of mine. And I'm willing to admit that. Now, there are a ton of things I wish I could do, as they're like booking my own shit. Now, here's the thing. I want the ability to book my own shit, but I don't want the headache that comes along with that either. So if there's a happy medium, maybe I could deal with that. But lately, I haven't even really been dealing with too much of that stress. Easy park. All right. See, Jerrigan, easy parking in the middle of the night. Not a lot of trucks running. I've never really, I've never felt that same fear that a lot of people have about parking in the middle of the night. Just because my trainer, I could still hear it in the fucking back of my head. But Lyle, there's always a spot. I've always went under that principle. So if I'm gonna run my clock out per se, within about when I got an hour and a half left on my clock, might be when I really start questioning parking, depending on where I'm at. Obviously, there's some places where I may not push it that far, but really, I haven't had to go to too many like secondary choices. I mean, usually I'm saying, okay, I got an hour and a half left. All right, next truck stop I hit, if I can find a spot there, I'll park. Typically, I'm good parking at that truck stop. There might be, and there'll be a ton of trucks parked on the on ramp and the off ramp, all that shit. Usually find a spot. So I've never kind of been that one that doesn't really park in the middle of the night. It concerns me, but I always know that more often than not, there's at least one spot within the next hour and a half. Stack up if needed. I parked with 1 minute on the drive clock last night. That's dangerous with this little bullshit system we have, because you could stop and may not be able to change your status for another 2-3 minutes while that shit goes through its bullshit. Well, it looks like my daughter bought a car, so I can now fucking drive my own car again. That's awesome. I did have to pitch in a little bit of money on that, but what are parents for? I knew I was going to have to deal with one of my kids, but I didn't think this would be the one. Yeah, I've kind of been off the grid, man. I need to call one of my boys that he just upgraded, and I know he's been out in California. Hopefully, he's not hitting them Sierra Nevada mountains with all this snow that's been kind of coming through there. Oh, I needed to buy some more cable cutters. I can't, those things got burned up. I tried to go in there and get those, but that whole dash where, if you know a Peterbilt, you got like the three little open things that are above the driver's seat and all that shit was all melted down. I couldn't even get my hand in there to get that. So I got that on my list of shit to buy. I saved my tire socks, man. I had like 10 pair of those things just because they were sitting in I never took them off my truck when I got all these trucks coming in. I always felt like, if I have to use them, I'm almost just going to treat them like a one-time deal, because I don't want to be riding around with all that wet shit. So I don't even remember how much those cost. They're like $150 each, or 153. They're at least 150. I don't know how much they are. They're expensive. I saved those. I saved my battery box. Those were two. My leaf blower, I wanted to save it, but that had got flooded with water, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to take it for a possibility. So I left that. Man, I had a fucking 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't even know why I had so much of this shit. This kettle corn popcorn that was had 3 bags per, no, 6 bags per box. I don't even know why I brought all that shit. I only ate like 2 of the fucking popcorns out of it. It was 3 bags per box. I'd only opened up 1 box. I might have had 3 of them. And I probably had 8 boxes of those. Those gone. Fucking all the shit in my refrigerator, freezer, gone. Anyway, I'm going home. Truck is down. Going to Fontana, California to retrieve it on Wednesday. Fontana, boy, I tell you what, that yard we got over there is horrible. That's a place we should get another fucking terminal, is like somewhere in the California area. Like, why could, listen, I'm not the businessman. Obviously, they know better than me, but man, I would take all that money they're spending in Georgia. I would take like a third of that cost and put them in 3 different give me 3 little Auburn, Indiana, or not Auburn. Well, let's just say Manukas, but the other one is Decatur, Indiana, wherever, I think it's Decatur, wherever that tanker drop yard is, just a little drop yard that's even smaller than Manuka. Give me like 3 of those or 4 of those instead of one big megatropolis in Georgia. Oh, but Fontana's horrible. Definitely would like something better out there. Everything you need for your truck is at Harbor Freight. Yeah, I only need a few more things. Like I said, some of the shit I had, I'm an over preparer, so I had shit that I probably don't even need to get. Like I said, I had 2 tool sets. Oh, the new vacuum cleaner that I'd got. That's fucking toast too. That was a good vacuum cleaner too. And the little one. I was trying to give the little one away. Had a pair of shoes to give away. Nobody, I was at the terminal. Nobody fucking wanted them, or nobody, maybe the size wasn't right. Let me show you these shoes. Man, I wanted them. They just didn't fit me right. Yeah. Yeah, shit. God damn it. Yeah, that right there. It's a nice little trail shoe, whatever, just didn't fit me right. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to send that shit back. Let me just go ahead and give that shit away. Couldn't find anybody to give it away to. I tried to do my red hot chili pepper on them. Give it away, give it away. Some of you guys might understand that. All right, Ricochet, everything you lost will come back tenfold, sir. I hope so. I think it would have been better if the terminal was north of Atlanta. I think it would be better if it was north, south, east, or west of Atlanta, but within 20 miles of Atlanta, maybe 30. That terminal so far south, I mean, I can't think of a reason why I would ever go to that terminal unless it was absolutely like no parking anywhere, because there's parking kind of in that area to some degree almost all the time. Now, let's say that you needed to stop there for a 10-hour break. It's not a 10-hour break. If you go to a full terminal, it's going to take you, let's say we're talking about best case scenarios. It's going to take you minimum 30 minutes to go through the terminal. And then it's going to take you minimum 10 minutes to get out the terminal. That's 40 minutes. That's best case scenario. Usually you're talking about more than that. So if I'm just trying to take a 10-hour break, why am I going to stop somewhere that has so many question marks. I mean, it's if I need to go deliver somewhere, well, there's nowhere close by to deliver. So I mean, I guess that's not that problem. But let's say that it was. You don't know to leave if you're going out of outbound. Should I spare 10 minutes or 30 minutes to go through? Because you just don't know. I mean, I think it's good for the people that live in that area. I think it's excellent. That's one of the beauties of the Denver yard is that I'm not sure that living in Denver, if that yard wasn't there, that there's enough reason to really work at Prime for me. That is having a yard in Denver is like a major deal. Just being able to go there, drop a trailer. Now I don't have to go nowhere to figure out where I'm dropping trailers or where I'm picking up trailers or none of that shit. I just drop it, boom, take off, go on home time. Actually, the dropping it isn't that bad. I could probably drop a trailer somewhere. Usually, if I have a truck, I could find a reason to get it in Peterbilt when I owned it. If I don't own the fucking truck now, I'm on a regular lease and I ain't getting oil changed every 35,000 miles or 20 or 30, 35,000 miles. I'm not doing all this extra shit. So I'm not going to have the truck in the dealership as much. So I can't get that free storage. That's another thing to think about. I just thought about. Huh. Anyway. All right. At least you didn't lose everything like Scotty. What is that? I don't know about Scotty losing anything. Knight has a yard in Aurora, Colorado. That Knight yard, that's funny because I think I might have even done a video on it back 7 years ago before I even came to Prime. On Facebook, Knight Transportation had a Facebook post. Oh, come down to Knight's open house and, all this shit. And our terminal's here. We're going to have a barbecue and all this stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm into barbecue, all this kind of stuff. Let me go down there. Man, I showed up at that fucking terminal and they didn't know what the fuck was going on. I had to show them the post. And they're like, we didn't know anything about this. So then they were like, okay, we could show you around. And they started showing me around the terminal and everything. And, anyway, when it's all said and done, this is the dumbest shit right here. They show me around this fucking terminal. And like I said, I don't think they were prepared for anything, obviously. They had all this little Prime gear, like this stupid ass hats and shirts and, all this shit, Frisbees. Not once did they be like, oh, you know what? Here, take some of this free shit. Which, listen, I don't really care about that. It just, to me, seems stupid that you wouldn't give somebody a brand of the shit that you... Anyway, so once I left there, that actually is what flipped me to Prime, because I was pretty much ready to go with Knight until that day. And I was like, if they can't even get this shit right. Well, I live in Aurora, Colorado. Well, I live in Centennial, Colorado. I probably live 20 miles from the Knight terminal. So that's why I went there. So I mean, to me, at this point, it doesn't really matter. All I would need is a place to park. I'm not trying to pay for long-term parking and all this kind of stuff. And again, Knight and Swift would only be... They were only plays for me when Prime kicked my truck off of their fleet. Then I was potentially looking at going to Knight or Swift just because I know that they have terminals close by where I could park my shit or do whatever. But I'm not going there to do no fucking lease at Knight, no regular lease at Knight or Swift or, Hirschbach. I mean, I think some of those places have good leases. Maybe even if you don't finish a lease at Prime, maybe better. Who knows? But uh, I would never just pick them out of, anyway. And that's a lot of pressure to pull a Prime or to pull I mean, it's bad enough pulling a Prime trailer. It's really some stress to pull a fucking Swift trailer. I mean, I don't think that Swift drivers are bad or worse than anybody or whatever, but with that stigma out there, that just makes it tough. And Prime's creeping up on that list as well. Prime pays more, but Night doesn't have forced dispatch. Well, I don't necessarily have forced dispatch at Prime either. I mean, I've had this conversation with my fleet manager way back in the day, and I take more loads than I probably should, and it's been kind of dwindling down. Well, I think in some cases I take loads. I think it depends, but I've had this conversation with my fleet manager, and I was just like, you know what? Here's what I'm not excited about, you know. But if you ever absolutely need something, I got you. And he just basically said, well, okay, that's fair. And he said, if I get a load and it's paying this much money and it's going up to, such and such, Long Island or Queens or Bronx or some shit, I'm going to send it to you and it's going to be up to you to turn it down. And I was like, all right. So there's some of those loads I think he's expecting I might turn down that I don't and that I probably should. But I try to keep it a good balance. Like I should not have gone to New Jersey, not because it's New Jersey. I mean, I hate New Jersey, or not New Jersey, but Philadelphia. I hate that shit. But it just makes no sense. I was talking to one of my boys. I don't know if he's in here now or not, but Rusty just went to fucking Long Island. It's bad enough going to Long Island and dealing with all that bullshit, but it financially just doesn't make sense going in or coming out, whether it just be the pay on the loads or the cost of fuel, the cost of tolls, and then just the hassle to go there. And he didn't know where it was when he told me where he was going. I was like, you might want to Google that. And he's like, I can't do it now. I'm driving. I was like, I'll do it for you. That sounds familiar. And it was like Ronkonkin or some shit like that. I was like, I've seen that somewhere. And I saw it because I was dumb enough to take a load down to Long Island one time. And saw that sign somewhere. Northeast is always a loss. Absolutely. There's just it makes no sense to do some of that shit. Like, forget you not wanting to be there and all the bullshit that can happen and all this kind of stuff. It just makes financially no sense. I mean, somebody's got to do it, but I just say give it to all the new people that are that haven't learned enough that they need to start Googling some of this shit before they take off. Like now, if I get any load going into New York or New Jersey, I will put in Google Maps. Like let's say it could be, I don't know, Bohemia, New York. I will Google Bohemia, New York to Jersey City, and that'll kind of tell me where it's at in relation to everything. And then I'm like, nope, that's a no-go right there. Yeah, Toby, you don't have to show no FM. Well, actually, maybe you do, because these FMs that are always your business partners that don't have no 1099 LLC or nothing like that, they don't understand a lot of this stuff. So it's good that you probably showed it to them. I can't extend the same offer that I had out there before previously, because obviously I don't have a truck right now, but I did have an offer out to all fleet managers, in-house staff, safety, logs, you know, whoever in-house that wanted to make a little extra money, because they always talk about you can make extra money training. Go out and be a trainer. You can make all this extra money. Listen, if you're in-house and you want to make some extra money, take your paid vacation with Prime and come out on my truck. I'll pay you your 2 weeks, whatever your average would be for 2 weeks. I'll pay you that, and you can come out on my truck. Nobody's taking me up on that. And I'm 100% serious. If anybody thinks I'm joking, they can I can sign them right on up. They can come right on out with me. And that could be, listen, people that would be perfect for this, obviously fleet managers, people in the training department that are asking people to train, driver health and fitness. That'll be a great one to come out and really put in that grind on a moving truck. Logs, perfect people to go out there on the road and see what the real world application to those numbers are. I'm not throwing mechanics in, obviously. I'm not throwing payroll in or anything like that. Safety, I mean, that's a no-brainer. They could definitely. Permits, not so much. And even if it's not to learn anything, just to understand that when the whole pitch to training is making extra money, nobody understands what you're. I think some people obviously have driven before, maybe a long time back, and I think they throw around this extra money without understanding what the cost of that extra money is. That's a lot of fucking. You put in a lot for that extra money, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I was making a ton of money as a trainer. And if it was all about the money, you give up more than that extra money is worth almost. Even if, the numbers they throw out in the meeting, I think those are way low. Let's just say I thought that 4,800 might have been on the low end when I was training. So let's say 4,800 is on the low end. Why wouldn't I pick up a student and train somebody to make $4,800 minimum averaged out a week training? Because you're giving up so fucking much. I don't think anybody understands that unless you've trained before. And those people that train student after student after student, good or bad, I gotta give some credit to. Because I couldn't fucking do it. That's a lot of that is a lot you're giving up. Anyway, enough of that. They didn't believe. Okay, so fleet manager didn't believe me. I tell them I go in, I get out. Northeast is a consumer area. Well, they teach that shit in the ACE 2 class. So anybody, my fleet manager, I don't know if he's trying to move up the chain or what, but he's always given ACE 2 classes. And I know that's one thing they talk about in the ACE 2 classes, the Northeast being a consumer area. I'll go to the Northeast on, like I said, I just went to the fucking Northeast. That was dumb shit. I don't mind going up to Maine. I got a soft spot in my heart for Maine. But that really depends on where I'm at. I'm not trying to go to Maine if I'm south of Baltimore and I got to take 95 all the way up. If I'm somewhere else, I can kind of come up and around, I'll go there. But anyway. Ghazi, what's up, Mr. Lyle? I'm glad you're doing all right, man. Man, I'm doing all right. I'm still a little fucked up in the head a little bit. I'm dealing with some shit that I'm not used to dealing with, and that is just uncertainty and what my next moves are and shit like that. It's I've already spoke about this. I'm just a planner. I just plan shit out. You know what I mean? So not having a plan is eating at my fucking core right now. And that's extremely hard. And I don't like dealing with details and shit like that. And everything I need to get this insurance company goes against all that shit that I'd really like to do. But all right, Toby Hunt, don't expect any sleep training. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is one thing. And, I'm somewhat blessed in that area personally where I don't necessarily need that amount of sleep. But every time a truck's going into a new city or a city, it's complicated. I got to set my alarm. Okay. Let me set my alarm to be up 30 minutes before I know he's going to be going through Nashville or Birmingham or, whatever that city would be. Or, let me set my clock to when he's about to hit these mountains. So, and then whenever the truck's backing up or going to a shipper, it's a lot of staying up. But here's the best way to stay fit on a truck is to have a good sleep schedule. I mean, fuck. I mean, it's really not hard to if you have a gym, if you actually have a gym where you work at, who's not going to fucking be in shape? God damn. All right. Have you heard anything about Hirschbach purchasing 50 fully autonomous trucks? I did hear something about that. And I don't really, I'm kind of neutral on that. Somebody was asking if they thought Prime was going to buy fully autonomous trucks. And my thing was, I said, Prime is trying to be a leader in the industry. If they follow some off-brand company like this doing some stuff, then I would have to question if I'm at the right place. So I did hear about that. I'm not sure. I can't see Prime doing that, but who knows? Toby's saying he'll go into the Northeast, but get me out ASAP. That's one thing I say as soon as I get a Northeast load. Get me out of here. I'm not trying to bounce around and do all this bullshit going here and going there. No, I want that. If I get that load coming in, I want my next load better be to Illinois or, I need to get out of there. But you know what? Speaking of Hirschbach, I never really heard anybody having any really real problems at Hirschbach. I never got that impression of them as a company. Most likely the reason why the Wild Beer joined Prime for the Hirschbach. Wait, most likely the reason why the Wild Beer joined Prime for the Hirschbach reference. What Wild Beer did, and I only watched the one video just because I think the only person that I can really watch that puts out that long driver footage type shit is Slime Pack, just because I don't have to really watch her videos all that much. You don't have to watch it. You can just put it on and close out your shit if you have the YouTube Prime or whatever that shit is. You can just close it out and listen to it. But what I did find when I watched his video was when they were on him about driving in that bad weather, and he'd never not driven in bad weather before. It was the impression I got. And now the weather's bad and they're trying to force him out in this bad weather, talking about this and talking about that. If Prime ever did that to me after all the shit they're talking, I would quit on principle alone. It would not be about money. It would not be about any of that shit. And I think that's what he did. And I don't think had they done that, he would have ever left. Um, Hopefully he likes it at Prime. I don't know what his schedule is going to be as far as time out, time off, all that kind of stuff. But hopefully he adjusts to Prime. I know it's a lot to go through because we don't teach nobody shit from outside companies that come to Prime. Prime is the literal fucking sink or swim company when it comes to drivers coming from other companies. Like, I bet we lose. I'm saying of the people that quit Prime that came from other companies within 4 months, if you were to say why those people quit within the first 4 months, I would have to say that not adequate training on the process would probably be one of the major reasons why. And then money, because of that, could be a second, but I think a lot of that would be the process. All right, anyway, give me just a second. All right. Just trying to see where my wife and daughter's at. Looks like I didn't have to chip in too much on this car. All right, let's see. I'm just going to call you 7993. Does trucking get easier or harder the further into your career you get? I think it gets easier on one aspect. It gets easier. Like, for example, I was just talking to one of my boys, Ed, the other day. And, I've had this conversation with other people. It's like, I'm glad that I got this fucking receiver and a new driver didn't. Or I went to this place and this is like what it was. And I was like, I'm talking to him and I'm like, man, I cannot believe that this place is this tight. Like, there comes a point, and I'm not exactly sure when that point came, but there comes a point when if you can get a truck, if you can get a trailer in there, you can put it in there. So that goes away. So you're not having that stress of like being a new driver or anything like that. But so that part's easier. Like you understand your hours of service. You don't need to worry about any of that kind of stuff. Like any time I watch a YouTube video, because there's somebody I watch that works for Snyder, and they're like, oh, you know what? I parked at this rest area. If I hear too many people saying they stopped at rest areas and they're new, I know why they're stopping at rest areas, because they're afraid to park it regular. I mean, there are obviously people that like rest areas more, but I remember parking at rest areas because I didn't want to deal with backing in front of everybody. So that shit goes away. The fear of driving goes away, where you're going, all that kind of stuff. The hard part is when you've been out here for this amount of time. And I'm just talking about my little 7 years. I mean, who knows what people think that have been out longer than this, but just how much shit you miss. And I just had this conversation with somebody is your temper starts getting a little fucking shorter. Like those people merging on the highway, it irritates you just a little bit more. Like you ain't moving over to the left lane as fast as you used to. Like, it's just shit like that is just harder. Stay. Here's what I'm gonna say. And this contradicts everything. I think the longer you've been in it, the harder it is. Because for me, because I start thinking about shit a little bit more. I start thinking about being home, or even some of the stuff I talk about, like with people in house at Prime. I never was concerned of myself with that shit until I started looking at the price I was paying for this shit. I think I make more money than a truck driver should make. Everybody's saying truck drivers, don't make enough money, or, this or that. And I'm like looking at the actual job and I'm just like, you know what? I don't even think truck drivers should make this kind of money. But then you think about the cost of it. And then you hear people at Prime or Night, wherever, that aren't driving trucks talking about giving advice on driving trucks. And that type of shit irritates me beyond belief. When I hear people talking about business partners at my company, your business partners, my business partner is not on a fucking 1099. Or when I start hearing, so you get irritated about different shit, and that grinds me. So I would say that, I'd say 50-50. I'd say it's easier when you're brand new because you're not thinking about some of the little bullshit that you think about when you're new, you're flooded with so much information that you don't have a chance to think about the dumb shit. But then when you overcome all that and you know how to back and you've been to all these shippers and receivers and all this kind of stuff, now your mind's focused on stupid stuff people say in meetings, or stupid stuff, shippers and receivers start irritating you more when they didn't before. You just start getting a little bit more trigger happy with, your thoughts. Anyway, hopefully you can understand what I'm saying with that. But I guess there's no right answer to that. I think I get irritated. I think it was harder when here's a good way. It was harder when I was new. I get irritated more than I'm not. I'm straight up company driver all the way, but if I were to purchase a truck, I would probably go to a dealer like Lone Mountain. Bad advice if you're at Prime. I don't know if you're at Prime or not, but that's you can buy a truck. Well, first of all, I'd have to know if you're at Prime. But if you're at Prime, that you can go into any outside company, even to the exact dealer, you would pay more money. Not even close. It's not debatable. There's no way that anybody can give me any. It's not even debatable. Like, going to Lone Mountain is not the way to go if you're at Prime. Maybe if you're somewhere else, I don't know about those other places, but at Prime, absolutely not even debatable. Even just think about, it's not on your credit, and this has nothing to do with why I wouldn't go there. I could buy a car or I could buy a truck anywhere. I could buy it at a dealer. I could buy it cash. I could buy it wherever I wanted to. Nowhere is even close to Prime as far as the payment. But even beyond that, why do I want to have some dumbass truck on my credit report? No, fuck that. The way it's structured, the way the taxes and stuff go on that is a little bit different than if it's a lease, purchase, to buy and stuff like that. Listen, I'm just do what you want to do. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but one thing I was able to do was say that Lone Mountain and Peterbilt of Colorado, Denver, whatever, was not the ways to go. You're selling your time. Time is life. Absolutely, Trucker Tammy Trash. I don't know if you were on there earlier when I was telling everybody that you're the one that put me on that dehumidifier in my truck. A lot of drivers need to do that coming into summertime. Go buy those at the Dollar Tree or at your local hardware store. Those things are perfect in a truck. I lost those in the fire. Great answer. Thank you. I'm at night. Like I said, night is a place I was definitely thinking about going. And I was thinking about going there if Prime kicked my truck off the fleet, but I guess my truck just kicked itself off the fleet. All right, I'm parked at the Walmart in Centennial. Let's go grab a steak on me. Which Walmart in Centennial are you talking about? As a matter of fact, I can't even go anywhere right now, but which Walmart in Centennial are you talking about? By U.S. Foods, got that fresh cut. Oh, you know what? I live right down the street from that too. I just don't have my car right now because my daughter and wife are driving that car, getting another car. But that, if you were to drive east on that road that you're on that Walmart, that would be Arapahoe Road or something like that. East about 15, not even 15, about 12 miles. My house is like right there, even with that. I like this area, man. It's peaceful. Yeah, there's a lot of money in that area. Mr. Lyle, I think you should transition to become a dispatcher. I listen, if I was younger, I would think that. But here's the dumbest thing I heard. Somebody said that to be a dispatcher, you needed a college degree. That is the dumbest shit in the world right there. Needing a college degree to be a dispatcher. If you've had a truck, if you've driven a truck, that should equal 3 college degrees when it comes to the trucking industry. This is just my observation about your leadership and how you speak and articulate things. Also, you're a genuine people person. Listen, I would, if I was 20 years younger, I would probably be trying to go that route, honestly. And I think there's a lot of things that my dispatcher or a lot of dispatchers miss. I think I would try to run my shit like a team and have it kind of, well, first of all, I would listen. I know there's enough time in the day to do this shit. I would be reaching out every week, let's even say 10 days. I would reach out to every single one of my drivers by phone just to be like, what's up? How's things going? How are these loads? You know, I know you don't like this because I mean, I think after a while you'd learn drivers. You know, I would tap into that, and it would. I think people will run. I think people will run through walls for people that they trust more than they will run through a wall for money, and I would try to set that up. So I'm just too old to get into that shit right now, but yeah. I absolutely agree. And I was just thinking about this because, they're trying to have a reunion at this mortgage company that I worked at. And there are people still obviously there, or people that aren't there that, I still keep in contact to now that I don't know. Anyway, enough of that. I'm single in my mid 50s, retired law enforcement with grown kids, and have a pension. I only drive to have some money in my pocket. That's the perfect route right there. When you got all that going on, first of all, you're old enough to not be doing dumb shit like young people do. Young people go out there, let a young person make $3,500 a week for 4 weeks. And we're just talking about 4 weeks. And they're going to base the rest of their life on those 4 weeks and go out and buy some dumb shit that's costing them, $1,200 a month and all this kind of shit. So you're smart from being, you got you're 50, so you got a little common sense to you. Um, have a pension, so you're not necessarily worried about the ebb and flow of what's happening week to week out here in the trucking industry. That's the perfect position. All right, Johnny, what's up, Lyle? Ben Davis, old school. I thought somebody might know what this shit was. That's the old school LA shit right there. Ben Davis. Oh man, I'm glad somebody brought that shit up. Oh man, I got a few Ben Davis shirts. I think I got a Ben Davis hoodie somewhere around here too. Not a lot of people are up on the Ben Davis though. I'm glad, man. I'm glad somebody fucking recognized that shit. Johnny, I'm Bay Area old school. Yeah, that's old school California right there. Like all you go back to all those videos, like you know, go back to like NWA and Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, all that shit. A lot of those clothes was Ben Davis back then, but then especially a lot of that Hispanic culture coming from LA, they were definitely into Ben Davis. So yeah, shit. Boy, but you got to spend some money to get this shit, boy. I don't really remember Too Short, but I wasn't a huge Too Short fan back in the day. Ghazi only got one life. Yep. Dale Roberson, 86.79, wore Ben Davis last week. That's why, you know what? I'm trying to stack up. See, I already had my plan to like stack up. And the problem with this shit is you just don't know how long you're gonna live. So you're almost shooting in the dark, right? I just had one of my best friends I grew up with. I still remember his dad driving us to baseball in the 80s and late 70s and shit. He just died, and it's just like, you gonna live that long or longer or not that long, or what it is. And it's just like I am constantly looking up, all right, how much does my wife have in her 401k? What do I got in these investment accounts or in my 401k? My different 401ks, and how much do I got in this investment account? And how much do I have in cash? And how much do I have in, property equity and all this kind of shit? And I'm like doing the numbers. Is that enough? And it's just like, what? You just never know. Everybody says you need a certain amount to retire, but then it's like, how is that? I don't know. I think I've lived more than half my life if you really want to break the numbers down. Currently in Vegas, but I'm originally from Compton, California. I know you know what Ben Davis is out there for sure. I have a funny story about Compton. It's a little bit long for this video, but long story short, me and my boy, this has been a truck driver since 94. We were up in LA partying. This is probably around 1988. And we were supposed to meet some people in Long Beach, but they went to like this, they went to this, I think it's a fashion design school or something like that. And anyway, we were trying to get a bus down there, but the buses weren't open and all this, or they were shut down. I forget. But anyway, we ended up taking a taxi down there, got dropped off at this hotel. We're walking down Long Beach Avenue with these duffel bags and shit. We finally get on a bus. It was just weird. I'm wearing this red Marine Corps hoodie. He's wearing about the same thing. We go into this McDonald's next to a church, and the first thing somebody says when they look at us is, "You guys aren't from around here, are you?" Anyway, it's a longer story than that, but yeah. Life is too short and precious. Try to live it well. Yes, I'm trying to. That's what I'm saying. I was just trying to stack up just a little bit more because, like I said, you just don't know. That's real talk. I just got done with radiation therapy in November. Live life the best way you can. Like I said, I just got to make sure everything is fine for me or us, if it's us for a certain period of time. And then, you know what? People don't just die together. So, I got to make sure that if it happens to be her on her own, she's got enough money to deal with everything. And then after that, these little grubbing ass motherfuckers, but that's a totally different story. I'm just joking about calling them grubbing ass motherfuckers, but you know what I mean. I don't want them to feel like anything is an expectation. I try to let them know that if I have anything to leave you, that shit's on accident. So let me just wrap this up. So I got, let's see, sitting at home, no plan, no truck, no nothing. My next step is going to be to satisfy this series of, or this list of things I need to give this insurance company. From there, I'm going to order my shit off of Amazon. I have that broke down into 2 different batches to get sent to the house just because I don't want to have like a driver overwhelmed by all the shit that is getting dropped off. Even a safety vest. I couldn't even save a safety vest. So now I got to buy a safety vest. And I can't rock the Prime safety vest. I just can't do it. I mean, even the brand new one I buy, I got to roll that shit around in some grass to make it look artificially older. So I got to do that. I got to find time to put my investments in. And then when that's all said and done, however long that takes, then I got to find a way back to Springfield. So I'm probably going to rent another car to go out to Springfield with all this shit. Probably going to have to get another hotel room. Then I got to get a truck or go to Success Leasing. Then I got to get a truck. So it's just a lot of shit I'm dealing with. All right, let's see. What's the weather like in Denver right now? It's good right now. You do not want to be coming through here like tomorrow night or the day after that. Supposed to get some snow. This winter is not letting up. Anyway, that's about it. Like I said, I appreciate you guys stopping by for this therapy because that's kind of what this is right now. Because I'm in a position, I'm kind of in a situation, in a period of flux, you can call it. And cash is king. What's going on, man? I don't know if you heard this or not, but my goddamn truck burned down and I'm kind of ass out. So I'm just waiting on what's going on with the insurance on that. I cannot assume, I can't think that they're going to try to rebuild that thing. Not a 22, but definitely threw my game plan off, my exit strategy. Not that not that it can't work out the same way. It just changes the way it gets done. So I was trying to be done trucking within the next few years. I seen that video thumbnail, haven't watched it yet. It ain't really nothing to watch, man. I was driving down I-77 or 64, whatever it was, in Charleston, West Virginia. Had a low voltage light come on. Then I had transmission fault code, and then seconds later, the whole dash lit up. Pulled over the side of the road. Shit was on fire. I thought, tried to put it out with the fire extinguisher, wouldn't go out. And then after trying that a couple times, I realized I better try to get as much shit out of this truck as possible. Got out what I could, and that's kind of what's going on. So I'm kind of in a no man's land as far as what I'm going to be doing. Since my wife put out she sent me a message a while back, probably a month, maybe 3 weeks, a month ago. We need to look at getting you back home for good or something like that. So everything I've been doing has been to put myself in position to like retire to some degree or another. So that's what I've been focused on. Had my plan kind of already written, kind of already in stone. I've been saving $1,500 a week to buy another truck. So I was like, okay, well, if I don't got to buy another truck, I'll throw that in the market. I'll put that in the stock market with all my other shit. And then run this paid off truck for another 2 years. And, when Prime kicks it off the market, if I wasn't ready to retire at that point, then I would move to a company where I could just run it there. And this changed the whole dynamic of what I wanted to do. So now I need to kind of look at that in reverse. So, all right, because of the convenience of Walmart and stress of being a lease operator at Prime, the Lytix camera on every truck, I decided to join Walmart private fleet instead. Got in, but miss you guys. There's nothing wrong with Walmart. As a matter of fact, first of all, if I was younger, I would probably go to Walmart. But at the time, having a paid off truck, there was no comparison between the two. Like there was no way I was going to make that much money at Walmart. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is I live in Colorado. I'm not trying to drive all up and down these winter ass roads for Walmart in the winter. Like at least now I can get out, to like Alabama or whatever, and then get back into some snow, then bounce back out, whatever. But Walmart just would not work for me. Now, the beauty of this, situation could be, like I said, it just reverses everything. So I had this money that I'd already saved up for a brand new truck. That money's about to go in the market. The insurance check, whatever that is, basically makes up for, listen, it's easier for me to get rid of a truck this total than it is to sell it. I mean, let's just make that selling the truck was always going to be a headache at the end of the or at the end when I decide to get out. So this kind of turns it around, flips it a little bit. I don't know how much money that's going to be, but whatever that money is going to go back into the market. And then instead of going into the market down the road, so that'll go in the market now. And then I make a little bit less per week, because I got a truck payment or whatever. But either way, I still feel fucked right now just because I don't have an exact plan. I like to plan. All right, flavor by the mile. What do I think about Southeast Regional? I don't like Southeast Regional. I kind of like here's my deal is I get to fuck with Midwest Regional light. And I say that because I can mess around a little bit with the Southeast, not get too comfortable. Most of my shit's in the Midwest, so I still do a lot of that. And then I dabble in the West, but not much. And really, I just did a load going to Washington and Oregon. I don't think, and I obviously did it when I trained, but when I'm not training, I really don't even get out there that much. So mainly I'm in the Midwest and I bounce around to like the Southeast and, well, okay, every now and then out of good faith, I take a load to the Northeast. But for the most part, I'm in the Midwest. I don't think I would like Southeast. Too much Atlanta. Not that Atlanta is not, I'm tired of people talking about Atlanta traffic. Philadelphia is like 5 times worse than Atlanta. I'd even say Seattle is better than fucking Atlanta. I would say Portland is worse than Atlanta. Man, Washington, D.C. definitely is worse than Atlanta. I mean, so I just say Atlanta just because I just don't like shippers and receivers in Atlanta. It's not the traffic. All right. All right? The trucking, what you put money into, stocks or ETFs? Both. I think with this money I'm going into now, it's going to be more ETFs because it's a lot of money. So before I was doing money, but it wasn't like big drops. Now it's going to be like, more money. So I'm looking at like different ETFs and stuff like that. It may not hit as much as some of the gamble, and they're not even gambles. I got a lot of money in like, I got Nvidia back when it was like cheap. I got, all the shit you hear about, Google, Meta. I got Tyson. My boy Tim Travels put me on that. Really hasn't done well, but the dividends are killing it. I got Berkshire Hathaway. I got Pfizer. I've taken some losses on some shit like SoundCloud. Anyway, a lot of that shit's just stocks, but I think more or less what I'm gonna do with this next group of money coming in is gonna be ETFs like VOO or QQQ. I haven't researched them enough to talk about what I'm really gonna put it in, but that's kind of gonna be what I'm looking at more so than just regular traditional stocks. Those of you guys don't know, my wife went out and got me a little Booker's bourbon, so that's kind of what we're drinking on right now. Prime Funny, they told me I was being underpaid with that per diem and cut me a check for the past 3 months. I felt like y'all completing a lease. I'm on the company side. Nothing wrong with being a company driver. As a matter of fact, the guy that trained me back in 2019, my second trainer, he was lease. Trained me, stayed with Prime for a while, got out because he wanted to be home. He wanted to do some other shit. Then left Prime, was a yard dog at Walmart for a while, came back. They told him he had to do 30,000 miles. Came back on my truck, did 30,000 miles with them. He left, went company, or went lease, and then he went company. So, and he had a reason to go company. And I think, listen, the only reason I didn't go company when I first came into trucking was the time off I could not fucking do. I think that any company, and this is including Prime, I don't care who the company is. If you think that if you think that for 1 day off for every week worked is fair, I just think it's bullshit. And what nobody that's on your in-house fucking staff is working. Call it 24 hours a day, because just because the truck's not moving doesn't mean you're not working. You're going to be out for, let's say it's 30 complete days. That's what's 24 hours times 30. That's pretty much what your work schedule is. Now, if you wanted to say, you know what, I get a 34 every week, and then, you know, when I get done driving for the month and I get 4 days off, maybe I could see that, maybe just a little bit, but that is some. How did the trucking industry, how did truck drivers fall for that shit? Where it's like, oh, as a company driver, 4 days off for every month is like fine. That I hate throwing this word around because I hate throwing around that slavery word, but that shit's damn near worse than slavery. Ugh. Now, I've heard some people that, you know, work at Prime have different, you know, their fleet managers a little bit more lenient with the, you know, days off and everything. But if literally 4 days off after working a month, I can't even really wipe my ass correctly in 4 days off after 30 days. I mean, I'll be honest with you, 4 days off, I can't even, like, I'm taking 2 days off just to lay in the bed. I don't even want anybody to fuck with me for 2 days. So now I got to deal with all the banking shit or any of that, any like business shit that I got to deal with the next 2 days. And then fuck everybody else I want to just meet besides that. Oh, I can't even talk about it. That ETF is basically a fund that's, it's like, so if I'm going to invest in Tyson, I'm just investing in Tyson. So that one company, but an ETF could be like, an ETF is made up of a number of different companies. So it could be, this ETF has, a lot of times they're kind of specific. So some ETFs are like, they might be technology related. So you might have an ETF that in their fund, you're buying all these different stocks. So it could be, like, let's say it's technology. It could be IBM, Qualcomm, Apple, Google, Amazon, Hewlett Packard, if that's even still a stock. But it could be all those. Or else it could be one that basically takes all the top companies in the stock market. So it could be, taking Coke, Nestle, it could just, it's just a number of different stocks. So these stocks, you're not putting everything on one thing. You're spreading it out by just purchasing this one fund, kind of balances it out. So that's why I plan on doing that with this next group of money, because before I was just putting in like $1,000, $1,500 or $500, whatever it was, and then just buying, whatever. But if I'm rolling in, at, $20, $30, $50,000 or, whatever that amount is at a time, then it's going to be spread out. I don't want to have as much exposure to one stock. So that's kind of the difference. Prime is funny when they told me, all right, we already went to that. I was company for a while. Is that something I should ask about? Ask about what? I'm not sure. I agree. I don't agree with Prime, or I don't agree with the time off as a company driver. I don't even think that's a trucking industry thing. That's not a Prime thing. How that got to be the standard in trucking, I have no idea. As a matter of fact, I've never been one to say, company drivers versus lease drivers, what you make, what you don't make. I really don't care about who makes more or whatever. One thing I could tell you is that I would make easily 20% less as a lease driver, just being able to dictate how much time I had off when I wanted it, than to make more when I'm um, stuck to those days off and everything. Anyway, I think I'm about to lose some. About to This battery's about to go out on this phone, so I'm about to have to get off here real quick. Yeah, make sure your per diem is 8%. All right, we got that. Save bet S&P 500, Russell, blah blah. But do your own due diligence. Absolutely. Most of those ETFs are going to be based on some of those things, but yeah, you can get funds based on any or all of those things. 10-4, appreciate the explanation. I got lucky and got into Bitcoin, Netflix, Apple when it was way cheaper than today. Yeah, I got lucky on that too. Never fuck with really that much, or I never really fucked at all with Bitcoin, but that's just because I'm old dinosaur. I'm on Gemini now, fuel hauling. That's good right there. And if I lived in a different area and I was younger, that might be one that I would do. I'm not really trying to fuck with that in Colorado. I'm not trying to go over I-70 in the mountains to do that, but that's an excellent job. To be a grown adult and hate on another grown adult because their work is weird. I don't know what we're talking about on that. To be a grown adult and hate on another grown adult because where they work. Okay, where they work. I agree with that. Anyway, I'm about to have to get off here. This phone is about to, I'm about to lose connection on this phone because it's about to, my battery's about to be dead, but I'm going to have to thank you guys for helping me with this. We're just going to call this, this is almost like a little psychiatry session almost. Help me work through some shit. So I do appreciate you guys stopping through, and tomorrow I'm gonna have to get on all this shit that I don't like to deal with, coming up with all this damn paperwork and receipts and everything. All right, hold on. At Walmart, 5253 off 10 days and still making 6 figures plus benefits. Probably one of the best companies. Listen, Walmart, if I was young and lived in a different area, I'm going to say that Walmart would be, if I lived in Texas, Walmart would be a no-brainer. Even some of these places that get snow, but it's flat. No-brainer. But Colorado, Walmart, I'm not trying to go to down I-25 in the winter to Cheyenne. I'm not trying to go over I-70 to, Grand Junction in the winter. I'm not trying to go down to, what's that place in New Mexico? Listen, I'm not trying to fuck with all that in Colorado. So I think a lot of the benefits of Walmart has to do with where that location is at. I'm not messing with it here in Colorado or Northern California. I've seen that guy that works for Walmart up there. I'm not messing around with all them mountains and Sierra Nevadas and chaining up all the no, that's not me. Anyway, I'm about to get off here, but I do appreciate you guys stopping by. No Hippie Truck and Transportation. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.